Have you ever felt like the whole world was against you? Imagine being born in one of the poorest neighborhoods in New York City, where poverty and betrayal are the only laws. Ethan Black wasn't born rich, and he had no opportunities, but he refused to give up. From cleaning cars on the streets to starting successful companies and making millions, Ethan has faced failure, betrayal, and conspiracies. So how did he manage to change his life and write an epic story of rising from the ashes to the top? Stay tuned to hear the full story, because it might change your life too. In one of the poorest neighborhoods in New York, where silence hid the cries of despair, Ethan Black was born. He had little luck in life. His mother, Margaret, worked hard as a house cleaner to provide for him, while his father sank into alcoholism, going to bars and returning at night more broken than the night before. Ethan was a different child, with eyes that sparkled with ambition despite the darkness that surrounded him from all sides. In the neighborhood where he grew up, the future was decided for most children: either join the gangs or remain in the cycle of poverty. But he refused to be part of this repeated story. He watched the crowded streets from the window of his small room and imagined a different life, a life full of opportunities and success. At the age of 16, Ethan made his first decisive decision. He wanted to break the cycle of poverty, and he started his small business, cleaning cars in the streets of the neighborhood. It was not easy. He would wake up before dawn, grab a bucket of water and some cheap soap, and start cleaning passing cars. It was cold in the winter and sweltering in the summer, but he never gave up. At first, everyone made fun of him. His school friends saw him as just a car washer with no future. The local gang tried to force him to pay bribes in exchange for allowing him to work in their area. Still, he wouldn't give up. He met every challenge with a determined smile and eyes full of determination. He realized early on that the world would not be kind to him, and that he had to be stronger than any obstacle that stood in his way. The defining moment. One day while cleaning a luxury car, a dapper middle-aged man approached him. His name was Jonathan King, a successful businessman in the city. Jonathan saw Ethan's passion and commitment and asked him, "Why are you working at such a young age instead of enjoying yourself?" Ethan smiled and said, "Because I don't want to stay here forever. I want a better life, and I know I won't get there unless I start now." Jonathan was touched by Ethan's words and decided to help him. He gave him his business card and said, "When you're ready to take a bigger step, call me." That moment was the first spark that ignited Ethan's desire to learn and grow. Learning journey. Ethan began spending most of his time inside the public library. He devoured books voraciously, books on entrepreneurship, marketing, and financial management. He didn't have a teacher, but he relied on himself to learn. He learned the basics of e-commerce and how to build brands. Books became his only friend, and he found in the open pages what he couldn't find on the dark streets of the neighborhood. At the age of 18, he decided to launch his first online venture, an online store selling mobile phone accessories. He was full of enthusiasm, but he wasn't prepared for the obstacles he faced. Just 2 months after launching, the store collapsed due to logistical and marketing mistakes, and Ethan lost all his savings. First failure. And first lesson failure was not easy for Ethan. He returned to his small room shattered, feeling as if the world had collapsed on his head. But he did not let despair control him. He realized that failure was not the end of the road, but rather a harsh lesson that he had to learn from. Instead of giving up, he started analyzing his mistakes. The first lesson he learned was the importance of good planning and understanding the market. He decided to go back to the library and continue learning. He started reading about digital marketing strategies, how to deal with customers, and the importance of data analysis to make better decisions. He learned that success does not depend on enthusiasm alone, but rather requires careful study and careful planning. The birth of a new idea, After 2 years of learning and working in temporary jobs to raise capital, Ethan decided to try again. This time, he was wiser and more prepared. He founded a new company, but it was not just a simple online store. It was an innovative platform that connected local suppliers and customers online in a seamless way. This time, success was different. Thanks to his accumulated experience and determination, his company began to grow rapidly. The platform made its first $100,000 in revenue in just 6 months. Ethan became an icon for the ambitious youth in his region, and everyone was talking about him. The media started talking about his story and how he was able to turn failure into success. Challenges of success. But success was not the end of the story, but rather the beginning of a new chapter full of challenges and intrigues. Competitors began to look at him with envy, and some tried to hinder him in every way. But Ethan was ready. He realized that success needed protection, and that he had to build a strong network of allies to protect what he had built. At the age of 25, Ethan became one of the rising entrepreneurs in New York. But he did not forget his roots. He decided to invest part of his profits in supporting ambitious young people in his area. He believed that opportunities should be available to everyone, and that everyone deserves a chance to prove themselves. The temporary end of the first chapter. At that point, it seemed as if life was finally smiling at him. But with fame and success came new challenges. The enemies of success were lurking around him, and the people closest to him began plotting to overthrow him. What will happen when Ethan discovers that the greatest danger comes from where he least expected? And how will he deal with the first major betrayal that threatens to destroy everything he has built? Success brings with it the spotlight, but it also attracts envious people and conspirators. Ethan did not realize that his closest friend, Jack, who had accompanied him since his early days, was plotting to overthrow him. Jack always showed loyalty and support, but behind the scenes, he was implementing a well-thought-out plan to take over the company. At first, there was no reason to suspect anything. Jack was a partner in the company's management, and he always showed his keenness on its success. But behind the scenes, he was sowing discord among the employees, spreading rumors that Ethan was incompetent and that his success was just a fluke. These rumors spread slowly but gradually affected Ethan's reputation. The beginning of the conspiracy, Jack took advantage of Ethan's blind trust and began falsifying financial reports and transferring huge sums of money to his personal accounts. At the same time, he was planning to legally trap Ethan by implicating him in alleged fraud cases. The goal was clear: to destroy Ethan's reputation and take over the company. One day, while Ethan was sitting in his office, he received a call from his own lawyer. The news was shocking. "Ethan, your company is facing a legal investigation for financial fraud. There is evidence of suspicious financial transactions." Ethan felt as if the ground had collapsed beneath his feet. He couldn't comprehend what was happening. How could the company he built with his own sweat be accused of fraud? He decided to confront Jack immediately. The first confrontation, Ethan walked to Jack's office. Anger filled his eyes, but he tried to stay calm. He asked him directly, "Jack, do you have anything to do with this?" Jack replied with a cold smile, "Ethan, I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you should do a better job of checking your accounts." This response came as a shock to Ethan, but he realized that this was not the time to get emotional. Uncovering the truth. As the days passed, Ethan began to gather evidence. He hired a team of financial investigators who discovered suspicious financial transactions and emails that exposed Jack's conspiracy. The evidence was overwhelming, but Ethan knew that the legal confrontation would be a long battle. The media quickly picked up the story and began publishing sensational headlines. Entrepreneurial star falls. Ethan Black faces fraud charges. Customers lost faith, and the company quickly began to collapse. The situation was catastrophic. The Great Betrayal. In a moment of despair, Ethan sat in his small apartment, contemplating his life's trajectory. Was all this effort in vain? Were his dreams just an illusion? He felt let down, not just by Jack, but by everyone he had trusted. But inside him, a small voice whispered, "It's not over yet. This is just another test." He got up from his seat and decided to fight again. His plan was clear: prove his innocence, get his company back, and get revenge on Jack. The comeback plan. Ethan's first step was to reach out to his former network of acquaintances. He knew that it would take time to regain trust, but he wasn't willing to wait for opportunities. He started building a new team of legal experts and financial advisors. He leveraged his previous experience to build a strong defense strategy. At the same time, he launched a new venture in the fintech field, using his deep knowledge of the market. The new venture focused on providing innovative solutions for small and medium-sized enterprises. The legal battle. The legal battle with Jack was fierce. It lasted for several months, but Ethan did not back down. He presented all the evidence he had collected to the court, and the facts began to unfold for everyone. It turned out that Jack was the mastermind behind all the charges against Ethan. In the end, the court ruled in Ethan's favor. A large portion of his money was recovered, and he was able to clear his name in front of everyone. Jack faced severe legal penalties, and his career ended in disgrace. Back on the scene. After the legal battle ended, Ethan decided to focus on his new venture. In just 1 year, the venture became one of the fastest-growing companies in the fintech field. Ethan regained his position in the market, but this time he was wiser and more cautious. The temporary end of the second chapter. At that point, Ethan had learned a hard lesson. True success is not just about reaching the top, but staying there despite all the storms. He knew that his journey was not over yet, and that new chapters were waiting for him. What would happen in the next chapter? Would Ethan be able to maintain his success? And would he face new challenges that would threaten what he had built anew? And the overwhelming success, Ethan was not ready to give up. Although betrayal and false accusations almost destroyed him, his determination to rise was stronger than any setback. After his fierce legal battle with Jack, he decided to write a new chapter in his life. His goal this time was clear: to return to the top, but stronger and wiser. The new beginning. Ethan began to develop a strategic plan to rise again. He realized that restoring confidence in the market required an innovative project and a reliable team. After weeks of research and planning, he launched his new venture in the field of financial technology. This venture was completely different from everything he had done before. It aimed to provide innovative digital financial solutions for startups. Ethan relied on the lessons he learned from his previous failure. He put in place a transparent financial system and hired the best experts to ensure the success of the project. He made sure that his new company was built on solid foundations with an accurate accounting system that could not be manipulated. Regaining trust. At first, it was difficult to convince investors and customers to return to him. The reputation that had been damaged by previous conspiracies was not easy to repair. But Ethan did not back down. He began holding meetings with local and international investors and presented them with his new vision. Gradually, trust began to return. The first small success achieved by his new venture was the spark that ignited a series of successes. Within the first months, Ethan was able to attract a large number of customers, and his company began to grow rapidly. These were not just financial successes, but they were the beginning of rebuilding Ethan's name as one of the most prominent entrepreneurs in his field. Revenge in a different way. Although Ethan could have completely destroyed Jack's reputation, he decided to take revenge differently. He wasn't interested in personal revenge, but rather wanted to prove to everyone that he could succeed again. He wanted his success to be the strongest response to everyone who doubted him. At the same time, he continued to pursue the remaining legal cases to ensure that he got all his rights. Thanks to his strong legal team, he was able to recover most of his money and compensate for the losses he incurred. After a long battle, the final judgment was issued in his favor, restoring his legal standing and conclusively proving his innocence. Global expansion. After 2 years of hard work, Ethan's new company became one of the fastest-growing companies in the fintech field. He decided to expand into new markets in Europe and Asia, and succeeded in establishing partnerships with major companies in those regions. The expansion was a bold move, but it was carefully calculated. In each country he entered, Ethan made sure to study the local market well and build a team of local experts to ensure the success of the project. He believed that success requires understanding different cultures and adapting to the challenges of each market. The Big Party. On the 5th anniversary of his new company, Ethan decided to throw a big party to celebrate his successes. The party was attended by many prominent figures in the business world, in addition to his true friends who stood by him during the most difficult times. In his speech to the audience, Ethan said, "Success is not about arriving without falling, but about rising every time you fall, stronger than before. I learned that failure is not an enemy, but a harsh teacher. Most importantly, I learned that self-confidence and determination can defeat any obstacle." His words were sincere and spontaneous, which made the audience applaud him warmly. This party was an official announcement of his strong return to the scene and a clear message to everyone who doubted his abilities. Thinking about the future. That night, Ethan Black sat looking out his glass window at the city. This time, he wasn't the kid who dreamed of a better future. He was the man who made his own future. His path wasn't easy. He fought battles against poverty, failure, and betrayal. But he rose stronger each time. Today, success is no longer just a dream for him. It's a way of life. But the story doesn't end there. The world never stops challenging, and Ethan Black never stops growing, because he knows that true success isn't in reaching the top, but in staying there. And so Ethan Black's story is not just a success story, but a message to everyone who believes that the impossible is achievable. The question now is not whether you can succeed, but when will you decide to start? The end, or maybe just a new beginning.